Hey, Black Belt Reads. It's been a while since I've done one of these just recap videos. Pretty much everything I read in July. Mostly graphic novels. I've been so busy. My kid's crazy. He's 3. He's bouncing off the walls. It's hard for me to sit down and read. And I always find the time to read. What's really hard is to focus and read anything challenging. It's been really tough. So I have this little area right here that I know you can't see. It's like my happy place. This is where all my books are, my toys, everything, right? And I read in here when he's sleeping, usually graphic novels like this bad boy, because it's comfortable to read something so big right there where I can stand. It's like a standing desk. And then, if I'm with him, I will read a novel, but that's why I don't have as many novels, because it's really hard for me to read something with him right now. So, whenever he was 1, 2 years old, it wasn't so bad. I was able to read while he was sleeping a lot and stuff. Anyway, Preacher. Finally finished Preacher, and man, what a journey. This was amazing. So, I read the first book a few months ago, and I had read the first probably like 10, 15 issues in the past, and I really liked it. Knew I wanted to finish the whole thing. Just, it took me a while to finally jump on it, but man, I'm so glad I did. Finally finished. What a great ending. I love when you dedicate so much time to something and it's got a good ending. It just makes it feel worth it, I hate when something has a bad ending. Preacher, Volume 2. Man, what can I say about Preacher? I'll probably do a whole video talking about these books. Let me look at Jesse here. Jesse was such an interesting character. Just so fun to go on this journey with him. I'll probably do a whole video where I talk about book 1 and then another one with book 2. It would be a lot in one video. I mean, this was over 1,000 pages. The first one's just as big. Oh man, book 1 leaves off with kind of a cliffhanger, but also like a really good stopping point. So, yeah, these were just really well made, perfectly done. These books, the binding is great. I never wanted to put it down, never wanted to stop reading, ever. Every day I was excited to come read a couple issues. Oh man, you've got Jesse, just a badass cowboy preacher who just so happens to have the power of like the word of God. He can say something and you have to do it. He has ultimate control. If he tells you to get down, you have to get down. But he barely ever uses the power, ever. I mean, he maybe uses the power. When he does it, his eyes turn red. He maybe uses it like 2 or 3 times in the whole first book, and then another 2 or 3 times in the whole second book. He barely ever does it. He doesn't have to, because he's already just a badass. Anyway, so he's trying to find God. It's wild. It's super, super crazy stuff. Extremely blasphemous, so keep that in mind. And then, of course, I've got Parker. I did a whole video about Parker. If you watched it, thank you. It's got like 500 views. It's my most watched video. I know that's, silly for a lot of people that have big channels, but I don't know why I got so many views. I think maybe there's not a lot of people that have talked about this book, which is a shame. So I heard about this book probably a few years ago, and I read the first one, the Outfit or something like that. I can't remember what the first book is called. The Hunter. The Outfit's the second book. The Hunter. I read that, really liked it, and knew I wanted to get that whole collection. This was nowhere in sight at the time. All they had were the trade paperbacks or the huge Martini editions, and I almost got those Martini editions several times. but never did. They're just so big. They're almost too big. From what I could tell, they would be too big to even fit on my shelf comfortably, maybe on the bottom. Either way, they're also really expensive, so this was perfect when it came out. It is the entirety of it, and of course, the big thing I harped on in the video was just that crazy sewn binding on a trade paperback, which I'd never seen before. But yeah, anyway, check out the video about Parker if you're interested in crime fiction. I'm always reading Batman. I've been reading my Batman books. I actually rearranged the shelves. You can't really tell, but all my Batman books are like on these 2 rows. I'm still working on it. There's a couple of Batman books there. And then I was going to make this whole shelf right here Superman, because I realized how many Superman books I have now. I'm working on it still. Anyway, I'm reading Batman sort of in like chronological order, but I'm also like putting pieces together. So I got Death in the Family. They came out with this trade paperback. I think this is a newer version because it's got A Death in the Family and A Lonely Place of Dying in the same book, which is perfect. Those fit perfectly together. Of course, very iconic. This is about Jason Todd. And so Death in the Family is about the loss of Jason Todd. I mean, come on, it's not really a spoiler. This is old stuff here. And then A Lonely Place of Dying is the first appearance of Tim Drake, the new Robin. And I had never read them before, so I really enjoyed it. Even though it's very old, I mean, I really enjoyed it. The art and everything is still really enjoyable. And the story was fascinating. I didn't realize that DC did this thing where they set up a cliffhanger and then you got to call in and vote, like in the 80s, you know, old school. You got to call in and vote on whether or not Jason Todd would live or he would die. There was a phone number for each. And yeah, everyone voted for him to die. This is very obvious old stuff. So everyone knows Jason Todd died, right? So then the reason that spurred me on to read that was because they came out with Under the Red Hood, the deluxe edition, and I'd always wanted to read this. I have a friend who highly recommended this to me. He said it was one of his favorite Batman books of all time, which I was like, really? I didn't realize it was supposed to be that good. He was right. It was really good. It was really, really good. I gave it 5 stars. I didn't expect it to be as good as it was. It's, look under the dust jacket here. Look at this. You got Batman versus the Red Hood. So this is one of those things where you really can't talk about the book at all without spoilers. I mean, it's tough. I don't know how some of these other channels get around spoilers, but I'm just going to open up a few pages here so you can see the really, really beautiful art. There's the Red Hood right there. Anyway, this is just basically the first half of the book is like the Red Hood just messing with Batman. And then the conclusion to all that, which is great, really great. And then the second half of the book was how the Red Hood came to be, where he was, who he was. And I liked that just as much. It was a little strange that you get the whole story and then like almost like a prequel toward the end, but it makes sense. I just think of it like a prequel, like Star Wars. I love the prequels. So yeah, really glad I got to read these, and I've read almost all of the Batman books I own. I'm up to Metal, so I'll be reading Dark Knight's Metal. So I did have a couple of novels, but one of them was digital and the other was an audiobook. So I did I think it's the 4th book in Cradle. I'll put it right there. Cradle. Oh, what was it called? Skysworn? Man, what can I say about Cradle? Cradle was so good. If you've never read Cradle, you can probably get it for cheap. He gave the books away for free a while back. That's why I got them all. Man, so good. So we've left Lyndon, our main character, he's got himself into a situation where he's going to have to fight somebody that is, on paper, way stronger than him. And there's no way anyone can see how he would win. He doesn't even see how he could possibly win. His teacher, if you want to call Ethan a teacher. Ethan? I always struggle with the way it's written is like Ethan. But I guess it's pronounced probably just Ethan. Anyway, I love that guy. That character is so cool. But how is Lyndon gonna beat this guy? I get a little, I can't remember exactly the ranks, but this guy is like a true gold, maybe, like really powerful. And Lyndon is like not even a gold at the start of the book, I think. Crazy. But the way he does get more powerful is really, really fun to read. The first 3 books were good. The 4th book, just as good, man. I can't wait to keep reading the books. Book 5 is, I think it's called Ghostwater. I have no idea why it's called that. But then book 4, it kind of resolves a little bit of the Lyndon stuff and then really takes off in a big way with like a much larger overarching threat to the entirety of Cradle. Yeah, it's just wild. Really crazy stuff. The power scaling and everything in Cradle is just really cool. Really fun to read. It's like very simple writing. It's kind of like Sanderson. You're not going to be really challenged like reading Malazan or something, but that doesn't bother me. Every once in a while, it's good to read something nice and easy. That's kind of why I started the video talking about how I've been having a hard time focusing because my kid is just bouncing off the walls. And something like Cradle was perfect because I don't have to like think really deeply about what I'm reading, which I like to do. I really like to do that. That's why I have a lot of hard books on my shelf. Some of my favorite books are hard books. It's just not that time for me in my life, you know? So eventually Ronan will be a little older and I'll be able to get back into some. I still want to read Infinite Jest. I want to read Musashi. I want to read 2666. Some of these books that are notoriously tough. I want to read them. The last really tough book I read, I guess, was probably Moby Dick, and it's just so rewarding. It's tough, it's very challenging, but when you're done, it's just so rewarding, and you want to go back and read it again. Some of these books, I don't know that I would really necessarily want to go back and read again. Like, the last book was The Haunted Forest Tour. So, again, just an easy, quick, sort of a cheesy horror novel. It's about a haunted forest that just pops up out of nowhere. The trees just start sprouting out of the ground, like fully grown trees in minutes. And all of a sudden there's this huge forest in the desert. And it's populated by monsters. Very strange. It was fun. It was just a quick, fun, easy read. It was kind of like a creature feature, you know, if you like those kind of movies. I don't really like those kind of movies. My favorite kind of horror movies are usually the psychological horror movies, kind of like A24 movies. Those are my favorites, like The Witch and Hereditary and those movies. But this was a lot of fun. But like I said, I probably would never read it again. It didn't really give you anything to work with other than just being a fun, sort of cheesy horror novel. Some of my favorite horror novels, like The Terror. The Terror is not like that. The Terror is kind of like it's like a creature, but the writing is so beautiful and so intriguing, and the plot is so weird and interesting. Whereas this was just, you know, there's monsters in the forest. Why are they there? You come to find out why. And it's like, yeah, it's just kind of a fun, cheesy horror story. I gave it, I think, 3 stars. But that's, you know, maybe that's just not my go-to thing. But it was easy to read. Anyway, I'm done. I'm rambling. I don't like doing these videos. I feel awkward, and yeah, so that's why I don't do them very often. So always appreciate everybody's nice comments. And yeah, I'll probably do videos on Preacher next because I loved Preacher a lot and I have a lot to say about it. So hopefully you'll check those out. See ya.